Tag TV, and Tag Radio. Technology now has a voice of innovation and information. Get it on www.tagtvonline.com. Thinking about starting a business? Are you giving serious thought about raising capital? Thinking of asking venture capitalists for money, but you're not sure how to do it or what to expect? Three powerhouses in the Georgia community, the Atlanta CIO Council, Metro Atlanta Chamber of Commerce, and the Technology Association of Georgia have come together to bring you the ultimate solution, the largest venture capital opportunity in Georgia's history, Venture Atlanta 2008. It all happens this fall, but now is the time to take action. This is an unprecedented opportunity for early to late stage growth companies to apply now to meet, present, and to showcase their technology to the broadest and most dynamic group of venture capitalists and investors from around the country. All assembled in one place, all assembled at one time, and there's no application fee. Greetings, everyone. It's Tuesday, May 1st, 2008, and this is Tech Talk with Technology Association of Georgia President Tino Mantella. I'm your guest host, Frank Baia. If you're an entrepreneur involved with an early to late stage startup, know someone who is, this Tech Talk could change your life forever. It's all about venture capital and how to be successful in finding the right investor to take your vision and turn it into reality, as we speak with Brandon McGuire, Senior Vice President with RBC Knowledge-Based Industries Group and Chair of the Venture Atlanta 2008 Company Selection Committee. Prior to RBC, Brandon was the top executive for strategic development for the prestigious performer in technology law in Atlanta, Morris, Manning & Martin. Considered by experts as one of the industry's top strategic advisors to emerging technology companies, Brandon excels in connecting entrepreneurs with the right sources of capital, management, and board talent. Member of the board of the Atlanta CEO High Tech Council and of the advisory board of the Entrepreneurs Foundation of the Southeast. The Tech Talk turns to Venture Atlanta 2008 and a call out to the most innovative emerging technology companies across Georgia as we speak with Brandon McGuire. Brandon, welcome to Tech Talk.
Good morning, Frank.
Pretty exciting. You know, there's a whole lot of venture capital forums that have occurred over the number of years, certainly during the dot-com excitement. And then, of course, now things are starting to come back around again, and we're hearing a lot about that activity. But obviously these powerhouses coming together to form this one event really promises to be the ultimate showcase.
I think it does. I mean, there's a lot of venture capital around the country looking to find good investment opportunities. We think Georgia has a very large pool of them, and we plan to showcase them at this event.
What type of companies is Venture Atlanta looking for?
We're looking for emerging technology companies, and we use that kind of in a broad term. It's going to include software, communications, networking, security, life sciences, medical devices. You know, the companies that venture capitalists traditionally seek out to invest in because they have cutting-edge technology, or they have a service that is enabled by a technology that enables them to get big fast and grow extremely fast.
How do you, when you deal with that eclectic a group of niches, are the venture capital market now getting more universal? Are they becoming more, unilateral in terms of their interest, or are you going to be attracting certain niche interests for certain niche technologies?
Well, I think, we plan on attracting over 100 investors to this conference, and each venture fund is going to have their own kind of particulars of what they like to invest in, and it's our job to create a unique pool of companies that kind of offers the best to all of those constituents together. And you have many funds that might be specialized in certain areas that might not wind up attending because there's not enough opportunities in a particular niche. But I think the history that we've had with the Ion Venture Forum over the last 6 years, the companies there have raised over $500 million, over almost $500 million, has kind of established credibility on the street for the investment community. And the companies that we plan on pulling together for this event will appeal to a very wide investor audience. And more importantly, it's a good networking event for them to come together in one place and trade notes with each other.
So again, what we're doing is we're calling out now. The event's going to be in October, but really it's important for any company, any emerging company, to make contact as soon as possible. Venture Atlanta is ventureatlanta.org, I believe, is the correct website. Is it, or is it ventureatlanta.org?
Yes, ventureatlanta.org is the website that a company can apply. More information on the event. What we plan on doing is we're calling out for companies now, companies that are looking to raise venture capital over the next 6 to 12 months, companies that might be thinking about raising venture capital over the next 6 to 12 months. We would encourage to learn more about this event and apply to present, because we think it's just going to be a great opportunity to get in front of a lot of investors from around the country. One
of the things you brought up earlier was the ION experience and the amount of investment that's actually been successfully funded as far as some of these startup and early stage companies are concerned. I think that is kind of the big bugaboo. I think a lot of entrepreneurs feel like these things can be exercises, and they really don't produce results. And I think that what we're talking about here is these are experienced professionals putting together an event, not just to be happening, but in fact to make a difference, to actually make connections and get the funding that these entrepreneurs really need.
Well, that's a good point, Frank. I mean, with the ION, we did it over the last 6 years, and each year we try to get the best and the brightest into the mix. And versus just an exercise, it's a good exercise, but also it's good for exposure, because it's always good to kind of get your name out there and expose yourself. And are you going to leave the conference with a term sheet? Probably no, although that we would encourage that. But ultimately, it's a way to kind of let people know what you're doing, get some excitement around what you're doing, and ultimately kind of let things spread out from there. And we have, like I said, over almost $500 million was raised from the ION Venture Conference over the last 6 years, and that our pool of companies there was only 12 companies each year. So this year we plan on increasing that number to hopefully have a better success.
Is there a preference for the stage of company, early, late, and I guess true? The other side of it also is that a lot of times, I think entrepreneurs, we're like all of us. I mean, they focus on a specialty, and they're not necessarily fundraisers. I mean, is there going to be any kind of mentoring or any kind of opportunity for them to go through a process before they present? How's that going to work?
Yes, we're going to have resources together that will, we have mentors and coaches that will offer their assistance in helping these companies prepare their presentation for the audience. And you're absolutely right. A lot of entrepreneurs might not be as excited about nor best at presenting to an audience of venture capitalists. So we have former or existing venture capitalists. We have other leaders in the community that are very well versed in what a presentation should look like, what an investor looks for in a presentation, because these presentations are short relative to the ultimate dialogue that you want to have with an investor. But the goal of the presentation is to kind of tease the audience, get them excited about what you're doing, tell enough information so that they understand what you're doing, but not divulge or dump a lot of details on them. It's kind of a very fine-tuned balance that you have to achieve in the presentation, and we plan on having resources together for those companies that would like assistance in doing that, to kind of coach those companies to get them ready for the conference.
You kind of wonder if entrepreneurs really think in terms of how important this whole interrelationship is and what it really means to Georgia and to the Georgia economy. And it isn't just about money looking to make money, or in this case, to maybe own a share or an opportunity in the next big thing. I mean, certainly that's part of it, but a lot of it just simply has to do, number one, I think a lot of the guys in the venture community are entrepreneurs at heart and visionaries at heart, but also it's all about growing jobs for Georgia. And I think in a lot of cases, the entrepreneurs maybe are a little intimidated or think it's only about affecting their idea, diluting their opportunity, when in reality it's more about accelerating that opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we have a fantastic state to do business in. We've got a great city that's a world-class city. And the kind of one of the other, purposes of this conference is the ION over the past few years has been a small invitation-only conference. This year we're going to open it up. We're going to really make it larger, put more resources on it, and really showcase the city of Atlanta for the key attributes that it has for companies looking to do business on a global basis. And, being involved in this conference as a company, I think is going to be very exciting because of the press they're going to get, the exposure they're going to get to the investment community, but more importantly, just the overall kind of identity with the conference and the excitement around it was going to be a key, endorsement for the companies that are selected to present at this conference.
Now, today, the Technology Association of Georgia is a partner in this thing, and along with the Atlanta Chamber and the CIO Council. And so we're going to be covering this in Tech Talk throughout the following weeks and months, getting more in terms of some of the keynote speakers. I know there's some top people already in line like Cisco and Turner Broadcasting. Really top names. But let's focus on today. What we're talking to now is you entrepreneurs out there, you startup management people, either someone who's involved in an innovative technology or know someone who's involved in a technology. The website is ventureatlanta.org, and the event's going to be coming up in October, but the time to act is now. We're talking to Brandon, and Brandon McGuire from RBC. And Brandon, tell us a little bit more now. Is there a certain amount of capital the company should be looking to raise?
I think this conference is more geared toward institutional venture investors, not so much angel investors. So I think the companies should be most interested in applying it if they are thinking about or will be raising, at least $3 to $5 million over the next 12 months. Companies that are looking to raise $500,000, $700,000, under $1 million, it might not be the best conference for them unless, their short-term plan is to raise that small amount of money to get them over some milestones. But ultimately, they do want to raise venture capital from the kind of traditional and institutional community. If they want to kind of stick with the angel route, it's probably not going to be the best conference for them.
Now, you're the chair of the selection committee. Got any insights in terms of how this whole selection process is going to work, and if I'm an entrepreneur, kind of what I should expect?
Sure. Well, when you go to the website, there's a form that you fill out with some kind of key information, and then it has an ability to attach your executive summary. And, the executive summary itself is an important document in the process because it gives us, the selection committee, the chance to read about what you're doing and try to understand it. We're really excited because our selection committee is comprised mostly of venture capital investors. So you have a very good audience to kind of read these applications and kind of prioritize them and make the decision on what company would be best showcased at this event and what company might not. And from a process standpoint, we highly encourage the companies to spend a good amount of time on that executive summary because that's kind of like the first test. If you're able to give us an executive summary that's very clear, concise, tells us the right amount of information but not too much and not too little, and a good presentation, it obviously goes a long way in helping to get good responses from the committee as we rank these companies. And what we plan on doing is kind of aggregating them, that we rank them, and then we kind of go through some processes to kind of come up with the final tally at the end. There might be some follow-up calls from the committee members to the individual companies if more information is needed.
Now, innovative ideas, obviously with good business models, maybe even in some case early or late startups. Obviously startups may in fact even have some revenue generation going on. Is that mostly the criteria, or are there specific industry niches? You mentioned a few earlier. Are there going to be any preferential consideration for certain industries, or is it just about innovation and just about revenue model?
No, I think we want to strike a good balance with all of the above. We want to have good industry representation as well as good stage representation. So we want some early pre-revenue, perhaps. We want some growth stage companies, perhaps some later stage companies. The industry itself, there's some concentrations of industries in Atlanta, like IT security and supply chain logistics that might, we might see more of. But for the most part, we want to put on a good balanced conference, but also give the best companies the opportunity to present. So if it just so happens that the committee feels that this certain handful of companies are kind of the best companies to present at the conference because they'll have the most success raising capital, and they'll also show good for Atlanta and Georgia, and they happen to be in one particular industry, that's probably the industry issue is probably going to be passed aside, and we're going to go with the strongest companies to present.
Sure.
Because our goal is to, show the investment community good opportunities, and as well as create the ability of the companies that present to succeed.
Now, of course, as I mentioned earlier, no application fee, so obviously there's nothing to lose about getting online to go to ventureatlanta.org and apply, because that's going to trigger the process. And, of course, as you guys go through that process, you just really will never really know. And, of course, you're going to get a lot of validation, and obviously if you are selected, a great opportunity to continue to accelerate the growth of your company. How many companies will you guys actually be selecting?
Well, the number isn't finalized, but I would say it's probably going to be around 20, which is, again, is more from the past ION conferences where we were limited to about 12.
In those ION, give us a little quick background what that is. You've mentioned it a couple of times. Maybe some of the listening audience won't know what that is.
Sure. Well, the Atlanta CEO High Tech Council, which I'm on the board of for the past 6 years, has been putting on its own venture conference, which has been the only conference here in Atlanta to focus on Georgia-based companies raising capital. And we traditionally have done it at the Ritz-Carlton, where we hold our bi-monthly networking events and CEO breakfast. And we, I think have established a good track record and a good job of bringing, about 100 VCs each year to the conference and putting up a good base of companies. And the goal this year was kind of to partner with TAG and to partner with the Chamber to put on a bigger, better event and to really put on a, call it a world-class event, because the ION conference was very efficient. It was more of a three-quarter day, half-day event. The investors came in, they had a little food, they saw good companies, and they left. This is going to be much more involved and put on a lot more content for the community. So that's kind of what we're aiming to do. So with that bigger event, it's going to obviously drive probably more companies that'll present.
So you'll actually have ideally a larger total number of companies applying, but also then a larger number that also will be presenting, and of course to a much larger audience. When you've got a cross-marketing platform among these three major, as I mentioned earlier, powerhouse organizations, I'm guessing you're going to get investors attending from not just from Georgia, but literally from all over the country, maybe even all over the world.
Oh, exactly. I mean, we've always pulled a good amount of investors from the kind of outside of the Southeast through the ION, and we expect to kind of, pull even more with Venture Atlanta because of the cross-marketing relationship and just the overall growth of the event is going to be it's going to be a spectacular event, and we plan on having VCs here from Boston, from Texas, Silicon Valley. So it's going to be a really good base of companies. Investors that will be here to see a good base of companies here from Georgia.
Now, just to clarify, to clarify this point, you will be looking for only Georgia-based companies, or is it a case where anybody can present?
That's the goal right now. I think unlike some of the other conferences,
only Georgia-based companies.
Only Georgia-based companies.
Great,
I think there's a lot of them. I think there's a lot of great companies out there and great managers, and we plan on finding them, and hopefully we'll get them through our application process to present. But that's our aim, is to have only Georgia companies. That's what we've always done with ION, and that's what we plan on doing with Venture Atlanta.
Okay. Is there a deadline to apply?
The deadline hasn't been set in stone. It's going to be around August. So if companies are interested, I'd encourage them to kind of work on that executive summary, get their ideas together, and then go to the website ventureatlanta.org, submit their application, and get into the process.
And it's ventureatlanta.org. It's going to be happening October 15th and 16th. It's going to be a two-day event.
A two-day event at the
Omni Hotel. Excellent location. That's going to be great. Well, Brian, is there anything else that we haven't touched upon that you'd like to add to? Remember, this is a call now to entrepreneurs, anybody with innovative companies, technologies, both early or late and high-growth entrepreneurial type environments. If you are one of those people or know someone who is, the website, again, is ventureatlanta.org. and now is the time to start applying for the event that will be coming up in October. But Brian, anything to kind of finish off our discussion today?
I think we covered a lot of it, Frank. I think, as I mentioned, there's a spectacular pool of strong technology companies out there, and if you're thinking about raising capital or definitely are raising capital or plan on doing so from venture capital investors, I'd highly encourage you to participate in this event or apply to participate in this event. And if for some reason your company is not selected and it's deemed maybe too early or whatever the reason might be, we'd encourage you to try to attend the event because those investors will be in the crowd. Those investors will not just be in kind of in their own little box. They'll be mixing and mingling, and you'll have the opportunity to meet them just as much as the other presenting companies. So it is limited in seating. I think it's 350 slots that we have. So tickets are going to kind of move very fast, especially with over 100 investors there. So we encourage everyone to kind of keep their eyes on that as well.
The buzz is all over town already, and it's so early, and we've got so many months. I can only imagine the buildup of this thing is going to be really, really dramatic in the attendance and the participation. It's going to be a bullseye. I mean, it's one thing to, kind of speculate, but this has got all of the right ingredients mixing to a recipe that's nothing but success. It's got it written all over it. We've been talking to Brandon McGuire. Brandon is the Senior VP with RBC Knowledge-Based Industries Group, but he's also the chair of the Venture Atlanta 2008 Company Selection Committee. Brandon, thank you so much for joining us on Tech Talk.
Thank you, Frank.